So you might be really pleased to know that I finally created a specific workbench area. Yes, I'd already created a workbench a few years ago, 2 years ago, but I'd filled it with so much offcuts and they kept building and I couldn't even move in here, so I had to sacrifice a lot last week. That was a very painful experience. But this week I'm going to show you how I made the planter to go with my trellis. And yes, it was with offcuts. They may not be the best offcuts, so you'll probably need a lot of preserver and stain at the end. So keep on watching for that. But the other good news is I've had a word with Evolution Power Tools to see if they'd be willing to celebrate with me for reaching 30,000 subscribers and to create a giveaway, because I already filmed this project with the mitre saw. It was gifted, by the way, over a year ago. Then I thought, why don't I get in touch and just team the video with a giveaway? So yes, I've agreed. You'll find out how to enter that at the very end. And yeah, so keep on watching and I'll show you how I made it. So I was very excited to christen my new workbench area with my first project. But I've still got too many offcuts in there, even though I had a massive clear out recently. So I'm going to be using what I've got. It's not forced to be the right kind of timber, but I'll be treating it at the end anyway. And finally, my safety gear was within easy reach. So to start off with, I'm cutting the frame to my trellis planter, and I'm using my gifted Evolution mitre saw for this. So obviously it was so much quicker. But for the exact measurements, I'm going to leave a blog post link below with a free cutting list. You don't have to register to get it, it's just there waiting for you. But if you can use pressure treated timber instead, it will be a lot more beneficial. And now I'm working on one of the longest sides. And to put it together, I'm using my Trend pocket hole jig for the second time. If you want to know how to set it up, I'll leave a video link to my coffee table tutorial where I show you exactly how I did it. And although many of you said it's not necessary, I preferred putting 2 holes in either end, and then I'd glue and screw them together and make sure it was square with my speed square. And because I hadn't quite decided on the depth of it yet, I took it outside into the garden to get my next measurement on how far I wanted it to stick out, and then carried on screwing that together. Although the angles were getting a little bit too tight as I got towards the very end. Then to create a base for the plant pot to sit on top, I returned back to the mitre saw so I could make some slats from some spare trellis wood that wasn't quite good enough for the trellis itself last week. It wasn't very straight, but it was perfect for this. And then I just hammered them down with nails. Now if you wanted to make it really robust over time, then treat these ends with a preserver. As you'll notice last week, sometimes I do get lazy and I just want to get the job done. So I held it on top of some 12mm OSB that I had. Then I clamped my worktop and cut with a jigsaw. But for these, I attached with waterproof glue and nails. And repeated until all of the sides were covered. Now you'll really have to treat this as a very loose guide because I really were using offcuts that needed using up. And I didn't have much of the same thing, but I found these 20mm wide plywood strips. I didn't really want the end grain showing, but you get the idea. And I cut them down to size and attached them onto the sides. Don't forget, if you love what I do and you want to see me win an award, then go and vote for me under section 4, Tastefully Vikkie, and section 11 for The Carpenter's Daughter in the link below. Cheers. But by the time I got to the front, I learned something, that my trim should always be at least double the thickness of the cladding that you're using, so it covers all of the cut edges. That's when I realised I needed to use something wider. And if I had more of this, I would have ripped the other pieces off and started again. So I've got some raw cut edges at the top now, and I wanted to hide them. I started off with a 45-degree mitre cut. These wood strips are leftover picket fence pieces from my dog kennel project. And to make life easier, I'd measure the internal opening, transfer it onto a straight piece of wood, position it at the start of the mitre cut, and mark where the straight piece ends. So I did try to glue the frame up here, and I expected it to be slipping all over the place, and it did. So I decided just to glue it and nail it directly to the trellis planter and line it up as I went. If there's a special framing clamp jig that's suitable for something like this, then please let me know, because I think it'd be really useful for the future. Also, it was lucky that these picket pieces were already stained, so I didn't have to mess about with it. But for the rest of it, I used exactly the same duckspec stain that I did for my shed and garage doors, just so they'd all tie in nicely. Now this was a stroke of luck. I was just going to line it with a plastic sheet, but I found this weaved bag for life really useful. It was exactly the same size all around, apart from it was too tall. So I cut the corners to create some slits and folded them because you wouldn't be able to catch it or see any of the raw edges. And then I stapled it towards the top frame. I particularly like this weave because it'll offer a little bit of drainage. So now it's all lined and all the stain is dry, I sat it in front of my trellis and transferred my 2 clematis plants straight into there. And once I'd detangled them all, that was probably the most tedious part of this project, I could then weave them around my trellis. So let's talk giveaway. If you want to be in for a chance to win Evolution's sliding bevel mitre saw here, without the stand that is, then I'm going to leave a blog post link below, and it's got a entry form at the very bottom and various ways you can enter. Unfortunately, it's only available to UK residents only, because I can imagine the shipping would cost a fortune overseas. But yeah, you can enter every day from what I remember. There's lots of ways to tweet about it, various things. So yeah, go and check that out. And if you haven't voted for me to win a blogging award again, then please go to that link as well. And I think that's it. But if you do anything differently to the project, then yeah, let me know as always. And good luck. Oh, and the competition ends at the end of next month, so everyone's got plenty of time to enter. Right, see ya, bye.